excess of $500 million. And I spent 8.5 years pretty much doing the CFP curriculum that we'll go through shortly. But I figured I would cover the CFA first, and then we will go in and talk about the CFP. Does that sound okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay. So quickly, just about Wiley. It has been around for 200 years. It is a valued source of information for 200 years. The content, products, and services help researchers, professionals, educators, and students around the world. Over 5,000 employees, $1.8 billion in revenue. 50% of the revenue is from outside the U.S., so we are a big global firm. And as we continue to move to digital media companies, we continue to increase our revenue from digital products. It's currently 60% right now, but that number will probably change. So the agenda will be, the CFA program, the exam, the CFP program, the exam, and then any questions you guys might have at the end. So the CFA program. The CFA program, it really is a graduate level program. It focuses on asset valuation. It'll focus on your different investment tools, and then it will take all of those, combine them together to create an optimal portfolio and for wealth planning. It is 3 levels. In each level, the exam gets progressively harder as you go through it. One thing that I do like to say about the benefits of the charter is these are some quotes that were stated about it that speaks to the credibility of the charter. You can see the first one is there are tens of thousands of finance degrees, ranging from excellent to worthless. It's a little strong. But there is one only CFA. Explosive growth has made it a global currency. The CFA gives immediate material information about anyone who holds it, and is very rare to see fraud at firms run by CFAs. And becoming a CFA is now a passport for excellence in international mobility. And there is another quote that I've seen, and I don't have it up here. I probably should add it. But it was a quote from a lady that said that comparing the CFA to the MBA, and she basically just said that with the CFA charter, everybody goes through the same program. We all take the same test. So you have your CFA charter, everyone around the world went through the same curriculum. Whereas an MBA, each different university, the MBA is different. And that is not meant to devalue an MBA at all. It is still a very great designation to have. It was just speaking to the credibility of the CFA. Everybody knows what curriculum each CFA charter holder went through. So why pursue the CFA charter? You definitely can enhance your career opportunities. It is recognized around the world. So for any of the students or professionals that would like to work internationally, this is one designation you can get that you can carry over wherever you go. It definitely will improve your chances of obtaining a job. You can join a global community of respected professionals, build an ethical reputation. When we get to the curriculum of the CFA exam, you'll see that all 3 levels, it's about the same weighted percentage on ethics, which speaks a lot to the weight and the CFA Institute likes to have with ethics. It is a key differentiator in the marketplace, and some people actually just do it for a personal challenge. I know that was my story. I got the CPA right out of college, and a year later working, I thought, wow, maybe I should pursue the CFA charter. And so for me, it was definitely just a personal challenge. The geographic distribution, you'll see most of them right now are in North America, but the largest growth rate by far is now over in Asia Pacific. It's about a 50% growth rate over there. So, this definitely shows that it is recognized around the world and that it is highly respected. If you look at the rise in the CFA program, it has just increased exponentially. This is in 2015. I know if you look at the number of students that were sitting for 2019, they're expecting about 280,000 candidates now sitting coming up in the 2019 exam cycle. So it's just a tremendous amount of growth for people that are interested in this designation. so a lot of you might think, okay, well, great, I get this designation. What can it do for me? So you'll see that 30% is other, which I like to point out. That because I'm part of the other. I was the CFO for a large family office. I didn't do investment research. I wasn't a research analyst. Wasn't portfolio manager. And now I work for Wiley building customized learning solutions. So to me, the 30% speaks to the depth and the breadth of the CFA curriculum and how it can help so many students and professionals in the careers that they want to have in the finance industry. 22% is a portfolio manager. A lot of times these portfolio managers are mutual fund managers, exchange-traded fund managers. So if any of your professors have you do assignments and you're having to look up research reports, there's a good chance that somebody on that team of that research report will probably have their CFA designation. Some of them, there's several of them that have their CFA designation. And then the third one is the research analyst. So that's a lot of the analysts that put together those research reports that you're looking at. They're doing all the due diligence. They're figuring out all the information that they need to have. They're figuring out how much to pay for a stock, what price you should sell it for, should you buy it, should you sell it. It's everything they need to know about that as an investment. Is there any questions so far?
How many people pass each year?
It's about 45 to 50% on average that pass each year. The lowest percentage pass rate is at level 1. The highest percentage pass rate is at level 3. Level 1 will usually be high 30s, low 40s.
Okay.
And then by the time you get to level 3, it's usually 50 to 53%. And I think a lot of it, level 1, is students don't understand how hard this exam is. They don't properly prepare for it. So they get surprised on exam day. And also, too, this exam is offered only in English. So a lot of students, the English is their second language. They get into level 1, they get into the exam, and they realize maybe their English is as good as what they thought it was. But if you take all 3 levels together, it's about 45 to 50% that pass.
Okay, thank you.
So the CFA Institute is I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, just thank you.
Okay. So the CFA Institute is a global not-for-profit association of investment professionals. The charter is a globally recognized graduate-level investment credential. It demonstrates commitment to the professional ethics and expertise across a broad range of topics needed for someone who wants a career in the investment profession. As I mentioned earlier, it's like that graduate level study and review. You do have to have a bachelor's or equivalent degree, or if you don't have a bachelor's, you must have 4 years of qualified professional work experience, or the third option is a combination of 4 years of work and college experience. You have to have that before you can actually sit for the exam. So on the bachelor's degree, they actually really want it to where if you're in your senior year, you could sit for it. So anyone who's a senior and you're thinking about taking this exam, if you are in your last year of study, they will allow you to go ahead and take it even if you don't have the 4 years of work experience. Does that make sense? They have it in 2 different levels of work experience. The first level is to sit for the exam, is this bachelor's degree or the senior year, or you have 4 years of qualified work experience, or you have the combination of 4 years work and college experience. That'll be to sit for the exam. To actually get your charter, which we'll cover later on, you actually have to end up having qualified work experience, but that's, after you've passed all 3 levels of the exam. So other small details, other entry requirements, you have to meet the professional conduct admission criteria. Basically, they don't want people to have, felonies or been in prison that are getting this credential. You can take the exams only in English, and to actually be able to take the exam, you do have to have an international travel passport. They do not accept driver's license. So sometimes students don't realize that, and they sign up for the exam, and then go to take it, and they don't realize that they need to have a passport. So So the CFA program does have 3 levels. It's levels 1, 2, and 3. Each level is a 6-hour 2-part exam. Level 1 they offer in June and December, and levels 2 and 3 are only offered in June. Candidates must pass each exam before registering for the next level, so you can't take level 3 if you haven't passed levels 1 and 2. What is nice, though, is you can retake the exam as many times as needed. So if you had to take, let's say, level 2 4 times before you pass, that's fine. They won't ever say, no, you met your number of times you can take it, you can't do it anymore. And another thing that's nice, too, is, some credentials, you have, like the CPA, you have to, within 18 months from when you pass one module or one part, you have 18 months to pass the 4th one. CFA exam does not time out at all, so if you take level 1, let's say this coming June, and then you wait 5 years to take level 2, you can wait the 5 years to take level 2, and then if you want to wait another 5 years to take level 3, then you can take, level 3 at that time. And it does take an average of 4 years to complete the program. The fastest you can complete it is 2.5 years, about 2 years actually, because if you were to take the exam, let's say in December, you could take level 1 in December if you pass. You could take level 2 in June, and then if you pass, then you could take that following June level 3. So, really, it's about 2 years that it would take that you could get your credential, but the average time it takes 4 years to complete. And that could be because some people don't pass at one of the levels, which is typically is most often the common thing that happens is there's one of the levels that one of the candidates doesn't pass. And sometimes it takes 4 years because people they take level 1, they pass, life gets in the way, they wait a couple years before they can take level 2. So some of that too adds to the average of 4 years to complete the program. Is there any questions on that so far? Okay. So I'm not going to go through this in detail. This is just the different exam topics. This is for the 2019 exam. And I just really want to point out the ethical and professional standards. If you look at it, it's 15%, and then levels 2 and 3 is 10 to 15%. And that really just shows that ethics are very important to the CFA charter and to the CFA Institute. And, I think a lot of finance students, you guys already know, is that you have to be able to trust the markets. If people don't trust investing in the stock market, if they don't, trust investing in bonds, and we have a really big a crisis if that happens. So ethics has to be of utmost importance for people to trust the financial markets. And then I think you'll see that level 1, you do levels 1 and 2, you do have the financial reporting and analysis. So that's where some of your accounting classes will come and help you out. That's always kind of a tough one for people to get past, especially if they don't have an accounting background, because that's just material that they haven't been really familiarized with yet. But you don't see it at level 3. You don't see corporate finance at level 3. You don't see quantitative methods at level 3. What you really see a lot at level 3 is the portfolio and wealth management. It's 35 to 40%. But even at the other ones, when you look at equity investments, fixed income, derivatives, those all take a perspective of a portfolio management view. So even though it's not down in portfolio management and wealth management, they're still looking at it from that perspective by the time you get to level 3. So level 1, it really focuses on knowledge and comprehensive, and it's really introducing you to all the different investment tools that you'll need to be a successful CFA charter holder. The exam format is the 6-hour 2-part. It has 200 multiple choice questions, 120 in each part. So it's on average about 90 seconds per question. And I like to emphasize that because the 90 seconds per question, that's not a lot of time. When you're considering that you have to do that over 6 hours, you have 3 hours, and you have a break, and then you have 3 hours. 90 seconds per question is really not that much because you have to read the question, you have to think about it, then you have to answer it, and then you move on to the next one. You have to read it, think about it, answer it. And so it's really kind of, I would say, it's like training for a marathon. You just have to, marathon, you're physically prepared, to run that far. Well, on this CFA exam, you have to be mentally prepared to test that long. Because I know for me, by the time I got to the CFA exam, I had never taken, the CPA exam, prior to the CPA exam, I had never taken an exam that long before. None of the exams that I had in college had ever been that long. So I had never trained for something like that. So when you're studying for this, it's for the students who decide to take it, really just remember that you've really got to overtrain. You have to over-prepare. You have to practice doing 3 hours at a time. Get up to where you've taken a 6-hour exam, and so you can mentally be prepared for those questions. And each question is standalone, so if you answer one incorrectly, it doesn't penalize you for answering the second one incorrectly. And level 2 is application analysis, and it really just focuses on asset valuation. Level 2 is very statistical based, very quantitative based. So for any students that really like that stuff, I know some charter holders, this was their favorite level. This was the worst level for me. I thought this was terrible because I did not like the quantitative stuff. But it's very calculation based, it's very statistics based, but you learn how to value every single asset in the financial market. So it's very intensive. And a lot of times this can actually be the big hump that all the candidates have to get over is getting over level 2. It too is a 6-hour, 2-part exam, and instead of multiple choice questions, it has these item set questions. You have 10 in the morning and 10 in the afternoon. What I mean by item set is you have a page and a half of material that you have to read, and then you have to figure out what you need to know, and then what you don't need to know. And then you have 6 multiple choice questions that will go with that. But it's tricky because they will throw stuff in that, page and a half material. They'll put stuff in there that you don't need. So you have to spend time just thinking about, I don't need that, I need that, I don't need that. You have to go through it all. And so, the tricky part with the multiple choice questions is you have all the stuff, and then you have to figure out what you need to answer that question. Where in level 1, you have the question, and then you have the answer right below. This one, you have the question, but then you have to go find all your information to answer that question. And they are standalone questions, so of the 6 that relate to the vignette, if you miss the first one, you're not going to miss the rest. You're not going to miss any of the others at all. And you have about 18 minutes per item set. That, too, is not that much time because you have to read it, figure out what you need, don't need, then you have to answer a question. And so that time goes pretty quick as well. Level 3 is really on the synthesis and integration. So it's really going to take what you learned at levels 1 and 2, all the different investment tools, all the different asset classes and the proper values, and now you're going to pull it into a portfolio for a client. A client could be a bank. It could be an insurance company. It could be an endowment for a university. The family office. We had a foundation. It could be using that for the family foundation. Or it could just be an ultra-high net worth client. A lot of different clients that you can have. It, too, is a 6-hour, 2-part exam. The morning session is essay questions or constructive response questions. So that's where you really have to go in and fill everything out. They ask a question, and then you have to write things below. Or they'll ask a question, and they'll give you a framework that they want you to fill out, and you have to go in and write things in different boxes and different ways that they'll test the material. So that one is very, very tricky because there's no answer there for you. You literally have to put it down. But on the essay session, they don't grade on complete sentences. They are only looking for, do you understand the concept they want you to know? So, for me, when I took level 3, I wrote bullet points, and I wrote as few words as I could. Because the more you write, the more time it takes, and the less time you have to answer other questions. So it's really just, on that part, it's really learning how to answer those essay questions. It's trying to figure out what are the key concepts, put those key concepts down, moving on to the next one. And then the afternoon session is item sets, just like what you saw at level 2. And it's only 10 item set questions. So kind of already know the answer to this, but obviously it's B. It's the pass rate. But like I said, those have been trending pretty much the same, and I really don't want those pass rates to scare students when you look at it. Yes, they are scary. When I was a candidate looking at them, they were scary for me as well. But what it did for me is just made me really study for the exam, because I knew that I was competing with very dedicated, driven people, just like I was. And so it just made me really study pretty hard for it. So don't let it scare you away. Just if you decide to take it, just let it help fuel your drive to want to study the material and get to know it very, very well. So for the exam, there is a one-time enrollment fee of $450 US. They have different exam registration fees. So number two, you have to take that. You have to pay that at all three levels. The first one, you just pay it one time. You pay it when you sign up the first time for level one. You never have to pay it again. It's just that one-time fee. Number two, those different fees, like I said, you pay at levels 1, 2, and 3. But they really want you to sign up early, because you can see that the longer you wait, the higher it goes. I will say, for me, when I was a candidate, I never did the early registration. I don't know why I did, but I always made sure that I met the standard registration deadline. Because for me, when the exam, back when I was taking it, it was always like the first Saturday in June or the last Saturday in May, however that Saturday would fall. I was always studying by February 1st. Because I knew I wouldn't be able to study the way I needed to study to pass if I wasn't already studying by February 1st. So I think that's why they have that February 13th deadline here, is they know that most of the candidates are going to be signed up on that, because most of the candidates are going to start studying, that first week or two in February. And then, the third thing is, some candidates like to study on their own. They like to take the CFA material and do their own thing. That takes a lot of discipline, a lot of time, a lot of planning. And I know a lot of candidates will sign up for some type of review course. There's many review course providers out there. And, being a former candidate myself, I always tell current candidates, find the best review program that works for you. I know I worked for Wiley, and we do have our CFA exam review course, but we all each have our own different things. And it's your exam, and it's your journey, so really just figure out which one works best for you. 5 common reasons to fail. You start late, inefficient study time, the lack of preparation and structured exam plan. That really goes back to, it's like training for a marathon. You don't run a marathon, 26.2 miles, and you only end up running 13 and think you can get the other half just out of luck. No, if you're running a marathon, you're getting at least the 26 miles, if not trying to prepare for more. So that's where I stay with this. Train for the mental marathon that you're going to go through, and just study a lot and get to know the material very, very well. Number 3 is not knowing the CFA curriculum. 4 is inability to apply learning through lack of practice. I will say that you can't just read the material and think you've got it. You have to work problem after problem after problem after problem, because you have to see how they're testing these concepts. Because I know when I was studying, you could read something and you could think you understand it. You're like, oh man, I've got this. I totally understand this. And you go answer the questions and you realize, I really don't know this. I don't know how they're asking the questions. So it really is important to apply your learning through, practicing the questions. And another thing too is exam day issues, poor exam time management, like running out of time. I know for me, when I would go through the exam, I would actually go through and answer all the questions that I knew. It's like, I know this one, I know this one, I know this one, I don't know that one, I think I might know that one. I would go through and I would answer all the questions that I knew. So at least I got points in my favor, but then I would go back to the ones that I kind of knew, and I would kind of narrow it down. Maybe it was 2 answers, and I would think about it a little bit more, and I would narrow it down. And then after I answered those, then I'd go back to the ones that it was just literally pretty much flipping a coin and just hoping that you're choosing the right answer. But I do know a couple times by doing that, when I went back through those harder questions and I answered them correctly, I kind of knew them at that time because I had built up my confidence, taken the test, got points behind me. I was more relaxed, and the more relaxed I became, the more clear I was able to think. And so some of those questions that were hard initially, I started reading. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's the answer. So definitely important to go through the exam time management, get all the points that you can get. Don't overthink, and just don't overthink. Just don't try to just spend all this time, chew up all your time thinking through a question. If you don't know it, just move on. So that was a lot on the CFA program. Are there any questions on that one?
Yeah, I had a question about it's just pass fail.
They do less than 50, 50 to 70, and then greater than 70.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so CFP program. So this one is actually a program, a credential that will help teach various finance concepts for those that want to be financial advisors to help their clients build a financial plan or a life plan. So, some of the students, your parents, I think I used this example when I spoke about this earlier. Some of your students probably sat down with an advisor to try to figure out how they were going to put you through college. Some of the students that are getting ready to graduate, your students might be looking and talking with their advisor about how they can now retire now that they're getting ready to be done with a big college expense. So this program really focuses on being kind of like a financial advisor, being a life coach, building a financial plan for a client. And like I said earlier in the call, this is what I did at the family office. I was pretty much a private wealth manager, and this is all the stuff you would see if you go into that space. And it's a very nice space. I really enjoyed it. I just left because I had done it for 8.5 years, and I was looking for something new and different, just a different challenge, just kind of time to move on and try something else in my career. But I know a lot of people that are in this industry really like it. Especially women that come into this industry, because there's so few women. I don't know how many